It's hard to remember I'm doing all this for EO. All this to start a rebellion. It feels like a game this night. In a way it is, because I'm finally beginning to have fun. Hello, Rusters. That's Chuck here, and I will be the master maker of the day, covering chapters 27 and 28, The House of Rage, and My Brother. With me, again, the ever-wise Ruster, the Darrow Steel of this podcast. Cullen, my goodman, how are you?
Hello, Chuck. I am well, and I am wondering, are you going to be able to keep this up and have a different title for yourself and for me every single episode? I feel like
Yep.
you're on a good run.
Yeah. I did do Arch Imparata a few times because I really love that, and you called out my, New England accent,
You
which
just
isn't
did it
there.
again.
Yeah. But I figured, there's some cool terms and stuff throughout
Work
the
'em in, man.
series. Yeah, I'm gonna
Work
add
them
them
in.
in.
Yep. What have you been up to?
I've had a week where every appliance in my entire house has decided to shit the bed all at once. So that's been my week, just replacing everything.
I feel like that's how it always happens.
Yeah, not just
You
one.
can't
It's
have like one thing happen. It's got to be the dishwasher and the fridge. Oh, and the AC.
yeah. And I love my wife to death, but there I am holding on to this microwave, trying to mount it up on the wall, holding it with my knees, standing on the range, and I'm just like, can you look under this to see if it's in this little notch area? And she's like, I don't know what am I doing? What am I looking at? I'm like, you know what? Thanks. Much love. Got it done though. But
Speaking of your lovely wife, is she has she picked up the book?
so she has picked up the book. I haven't asked her anything yet. So I'm giving it a few days. She is a very fast reader. So I'm giving it a few days. I wouldn't be surprised if she finishes it by, I don't know, let's say in 3-4 days. She'll be done with it. And then I want to kind of get her a recap. I don't want to influence her in any way. I just simply said, enjoy this. It starts a little slow and ramps up midway, and tell me what you think. So I'm excited to find out how that went.
Excellent, excellent. We'd love to hear a new convert to the cult has been made. My sister, I may have mentioned this a few weeks ago. My family was up, and I gave my brother-in-law Red Rising, and then I ordered Golden Sun so that it would be there when they got home.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I got a text message from her a few days ago, and she was like, I've never seen Jamie read so much. I woke up at 5 a.m. the other day,
Yeah.
and he was on the couch reading, and then she said, and I started Red Rising, and I'm like halfway through. I love it. Thank you. This is awesome.
Hell yeah.
And I guess he went and bought the rest of the books, and she was like, also when he went to the bookstore to buy the rest of the books, the girl at the counter gave him her phone number.
Oh boy. Look what you
So,
started now. That's going to be blamed on you somehow.
for you single rusters out there, maybe this is your way of becoming unsingle.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
go to your local Barnes and Noble or independent bookseller and grab some Red Rising, and who knows, maybe the lovely person behind the counter will pass you a phone number, and it'll be like
Yeah.
the nerdiest rom-com to ever
Yeah.
be written.
Let the chips fall where they may. That's not a guarantee,
Exactly.
but who knows? It may happen.
Stranger things. Stranger
true.
things.
So
Um,
to continue
go ahead.
on, I also have to do another Howl of Appreciation.
Oh, yes.
So this one goes a little far back. It's just my personal life. The first book I ever read was from the actor Hugh Laurie, and it was The Gun
Oh,
Seller.
I remember you talking about that
So
book.
I refused to read all through school. I hated books. I did all the bullshit you could just to pass through school. The Gun Seller was the first book I ever started. I don't even know why, honestly. And I sat and I was engrossed in that story. And because of that book and his writing, it opened my entire world to everything. And then your recommendations and all that. But it all comes back down to Hugh Laurie's first book, I think at that time, the gun seller that really opened my world up.
So we're doing a howl of appreciation to Hugh Laurie.
Yes, we are.
All right. I like that.
Yep. And because, I mean, yeah, anyways. So, and then because chapter 28 is a little bit on the shorter side, we're also going to include a little bit called Answering the Tight Beam, which is going to be a question that we got from a listener. So we'll be diving into that. But to start things off, chapter 27, The House of Rage, there's a couple themes that we got from this chapter. One is getting one's house in order, the removal of Titus. Theme 2 would be the misdirection in combat, flanking maneuvers, using cover and concealment. I want to cover the battle specifically in this chapter because it was something I very much enjoyed, and how Pierce Brown covers battle throughout this series is like a main attraction that kept me hooked in this series. And two more themes in this chapter. A part of the real Reaper is seen, in my opinion. And then the final scene or theme would be the revelation or the mention of the Jackal being included into this. So, yeah, we start off. Darrow and Cassius and Severo and a very confused cook named June start heading back towards Castle Mars to the rest of their gang. It appears their plans are still in effect somehow. Darrow forces are divided into three groups. Darrow, Cassius, and Severo head towards Castle Mars's entrance. Antonia and her followers loop north, and the lone Roke loops south of the castle. And just so happens around this time of the day, I don't even know, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, there's a thick mist covering the entire valley. Along the travels, I find it interesting that although Severo was the one who managed to grab the house standard from Minerva, he doesn't want to take ownership of it or carry it. He would prefer that Darrow takes the honor and glory for acquiring House Minerva's standard, and Severo acts kind of like he cares more for his curved blades than he does for the house standard. And there's a few reasons I believe or thought that why he would be doing that. One, he doesn't want the heat or attention on himself and would rather remain hidden or remain an outcast. He truly did it for Darrow and would rather he gets the respect and recognition. He knows no matter what he does in this game, it is rigged. He is hated for what he has done, and he knows nothing will change that if he took credit for stealing the standard. So, and in case we don't know, spoilers, we've gone over it. Severo is the one that killed Priam in the culling or in the beginning. So he knows no matter what, this game is rigged against him. He's always going to be hated for that. So he's almost just like, I don't need this attention. Darrow, I like you. You're a cool guy. I'm going to follow you around like a lost puppy. You know, you take the credit for this.
I think I think it can also be all of those things. You know, I think one of my favorite historical figures is Agrippa. And, you know, Augustus, so Caesar adopts a nephew, I think it was his nephew, Octavian, and he becomes Octavian, he becomes Augustus Caesar. And he's famous as the guy who defeats Mark Antony, and he's famous for basically building Rome as we know it. He said, I found, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I found Rome a city of rocks and mud or thatch roofs, and I left it a city of marble. So he's kind of the guy that built the Roman Empire as we know it, or think of it at its beginning and its like heyday. But underneath him was a guy named Agrippa. And Agrippa was his actual, is the guy who actually beat Mark Antony. He was his best field commander. He was his best admiral. He was also a brilliant administrator, and he had incredible buildings. Like the the Pantheon in Rome it's now a Catholic church, but it is a temple that he had built that is still standing in the middle of Rome today and has a perfect dome. It was the longest freestanding dome in the world for like 2,000 years. It is phenomenally beautiful. Have been there, and it's worth waiting in line to get inside. But this guy also dug he dug a canal from, I think, like 5 miles inland to the sea so that their naval ships would have safe anchorage that was easily defensible and wouldn't be open to a more powerful navy that Mark Antony and Lepidus had at that time. Just a brilliant guy, but he knew he was better as the second because he came from a lower birth, had basically no name, was just a brilliant and very content being the secondary role. And Augustus probably doesn't get where he gets without a willing I don't even know what you'd call it, a willing
ally,
sidekick, ally. And I think Severo fills that role. He knows that he's going to be better in this secondary role because he's not a leader. Nobody's going to follow him. And he wouldn't be a good leader, I don't think.
I think some of his worst moments is when he's kind of off on his own in later books, and there's nobody to rein him in.
Because he's got a lot of anger.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have more anger and hate than Darrow as we go on in the books. But yeah, so I think it might be, I think it's a good read on your part, but I think it also might just be all of those things that you said.
I agree.
I don't think it has to be one.
You've convinced me.
Hey.
Yeah, that's one. Not on Roke yet, but there's time. Allowing Darrow to have this trophy, it helps cement his role as the leader of House Mars, and more importantly, will help him separate himself from the downfall of Titus. It will show Darrow is above Cassius as well, as he is the one that's triumphant with this House Minervan flag. The three fan out just far enough away that they cannot be seen by one another through this thick mist. Mustang and the Minervans are already inside the castle. They have successfully taken it over from Titus. Darrow and his giant standard is spotted. Mustang and 6 of her finest ride from the castle to meet with Darrow. She has been inside the keep. Her voice is not playful. Whatever she has witnessed has pushed her over the edge. With her is the big man himself, Pax Au Telemanus.
Pax Au Telemanus.
You can't even say it without screaming.
Yeah, we got to have like a soundbite that we play in there for every single time.
And one of my quotes that I love from this chapter, it's all about Pax. But I love how he's described as being so damn massive that the horse beneath him looks like a dog. Simple little quote, but I'm trying to imagine how he fits into the whole scheme of things, like size-wise. You showed me a picture that I think was on Instagram that showed like general height.
The scale.
That's what it was. Yep. So that's something I feel like we have to see if we could post, because that put everything into perspective for me on understanding how these players fit.
If you can find that, when we post this episode, we should throw that up there just so people have an idea of like how big this kid is. It's like he's a giant.
And then all compared to little Darrow in the beginning as a red. But so our worst fears of what transpired within the keep are realized as Mustang quickly accuses Darrow of rape, mutilation, and murder. I did nothing, I say, and neither did the proctors. Yes, you did nothing. That part hurt my soul. And like we were talking about meeting and speaking with Skipper about this, but it's like That part really does like sink down to my heart. It's like, well, yes, in that moment, nothing happened. They're on the hill, they're witnessing these screams, and they sat there for whatever reason, justification, tactical. It's still, he did nothing. You could always say that, and it hurts. The knife cuts deep.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And as Shark Bait's bookshelf said, like, it's not a, it's him admitting I did nothing. It kind of gives weight to what her point of view was, where your main character, not only does he not do anything, but he's also not exactly torn by it.
Yeah.
You'd kind of want to see him be emotional here and say, I feel you. I don't agree with it. I think it was horrible that happened. And this is why we were trying to get him out and get rid of Titus. But the cold, calculating, strategic mind would say that he plays this exactly right. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to let his cards out there that he's hurt by this and he's disgusted, because he wants them to have a healthy amount of fear of him. And if you can think of him as being somebody who isn't necessarily emotionally twisted into knots by those actions, that makes you second guess screwing around or fucking with him in the future.
And if we look at like history and particularly warfare, if you act or react on emotion, it generally doesn't go well. So yes, he did things tactically successful to take down Titus, but somebody has to get hurt. I mean, it's not okay, but that's the story.
I mean, look at Titus within the story. He has one of the Ceres girls covered in grass and put in front of the door of the castle, and then he has one of his own girls screaming that she's being assaulted in the woods. And because the Ceres house act out of emotion and act out of a righteous human indignation, that girl ends up maybe dead. You know, it was a tactical ploy used to play on the heartstrings of emotionally driven people. I think we can safely say we think that is a horrific thing. We are not agreeing with Darrow saying I did nothing, and we're not saying it's like a good thing that he was like that, but we are saying it was successful in terms of what his
reaction,
his goals and aims were. He's trying to instill fear in the hearts of his enemy, and Mustang is his enemy at this point.
Yes. So Mustang states that Darrow is the leader, and he is responsible for anything that happened within that castle. Darrow responds that Titus is the one responsible, but he didn't come here to talk. Several pops out of the mist, knives away, pulls a Minervan student from their saddle, and cripples them instantly. Only pausing to howl before he takes another student down. Before Mustang's group can respond, howls are heard from the woods to the north as Antonia and half of her Phobos garrison ride down to flank Mustang. Enemies riding down from the north and evil goblins slicing up your numbers from the shadows, Mustang tries to command her group to face the oncoming charge of Antonia. Now Darrow makes his move. Purposefully, he slams Minerva's standard upright into the ground, draws his sling blade, howling like a banshee, charges straight towards Mustang. The enemy scatters as they see this raving lunatic charging towards them. All but one. Pax out Telemanus.
You gotta yell it, man.
Yeah. Pax out Telemanus runs from no man. All right. In fact, Pax jumps off of his own damn horse or dog to charge at Darrow, which is a little confusing. Like, why don't you just charge towards him on your horse? No, he jumps off the horse and then runs after Darrow. This guy's fucking nuts. All the while yelling his own name over and over and over again. Yeah.
Darrow has a line in there where he's like yelling his own name like a damn idiot or something that I think.
I have a quote of it. So It fits perfectly. It's something I would definitely say in the moment. Pax's big ass tackles Darrow's horse and sends Darrow flying. The battlefield is pure chaos, but it is a controlled chaos to an extent. Antonia and Mustang's group are engaged. The Minervan standard, seemingly standing undefended, draws attention from a handful of soldiers who chase after it, dividing and leaving Mustang vulnerable. This is when Cassius rides out to retrieve the standard at the last second and draws the Minervan soldiers chasing him south into the waiting arms of the other half of the garrison of Antonia's. Darrow regains his footing in time to defend his life. Darrow and his sling blade become one. Remembering the dancing patterns his uncle taught him in the abandoned mines, the reaping dance carries my motions into one another like flowing water. Pax and Darrow finally come face to face after Pax smacks Clown so hard he flies back 4 meters. In the chaos of war, there's no such thing as a fair fight. Darrow gets shoved from behind right into Pax's arms, who squeeze him so tight his back cracks. Before he manages to pass out, Darrow repeatedly knees Pax in the groin over and over again until they both manage to collapse and black out on each other. Now, I just read this now, and that made me think of it. Throughout this book in the series, there's mentions of like standard and metric measuring systems. They talk about meters and
drives
feet.
Me fucking
and,
nuts.
Yeah, I just thought of that. Why? I
don't know. It drives me nuts because I can never get a real sense of... just because we fly in between and I don't know what the metric system is. So like, I don't know, 20 meters and 20 kilometers and you know, it's all... I just think of it's either a very long distance or a very short distance. It's either going very fast or very slow.
And that's our simple minds, but still, it's confusing where times it's like, I knocked him 6 feet and I knocked him 12 meters. Like, okay, that was 2 sentences almost back to back. Make up your mind. But we love you. All right, Pierce. I'm just saying, it's a little confusing.
No hate.
Yeah. So the battle is done. Mars has managed to win out the day, but Mustang and 6 of her fighters slip past into the inner keep and has barricaded themselves within. Knowing time may be short, House Minerva or Ceres could attack at any time, Darrow heads to the keep to negotiate with Mustang. There's a passage that I want to read that shows, in my opinion, the first sign of the Reaper. Mustang starts off, "This is a school. You realize that, yes? No matter the rules your house decides to play by. Be ruthless all you gory well like, but there are limits. There are slagging limits to what you can do in this school, in the game. The more brutal you are, the more foolish you look to the proctors, to the adults who will know what you've done, what you're capable of doing. You think they want monsters to lead the society? Who would want a monster for an apprentice? I see a vision of Augustus watching my wife dangle, eyes dead as a pit viper's. A monster would want a student in his own image. They want visionaries, leaders of men, not reapers of them. There are limits. There are no goddamn limits. It doesn't matter a flying piss what you want. Here, you get what you take. That's part of the lesson plan. Titus is of House Mars. He is ours. So please, try and take him." That's when I feel the beginning of the Reaper comes out.
I think that's fair. I think this whole chapter, to your point, when he says, "I did nothing, but so did the proctors," he's trying to bring them, Mustang in particular, but everybody to the light, the realization that because this is a microcosm of the society, we're going to treat it like the society. And maybe they'll come to realize this is what it's like for everybody else.
Yes. This is the real world for everyone else.
I think in that conversation at one point, he says to Mustang, like, what would you say if it was a little red girl getting raped?
Yeah, I have that.
How would you feel about that?
How the chapter rounds out in the final interaction between Mustang and Darrow. If Titus raped a little girl who happened to be a red, how would you feel? Now look around. There are no golds here. I'm a red, you're a red. We are all reds till one of us gets enough power. Then we get rights. Then we make our own law. That's the point of all this. To make you terrified of a world where you do not rule. Security and justice aren't given. They are made by the strong. Mustang responds, you should hope that is not true, because there is a boy here like you. My proctor calls him the Jackal. He is smarter and crueler and stronger than you. And he will win this game and make us his slaves if the rest of us go about acting like animals. So please, hurry up and evolve.
I love that last line.
Yeah. It's a good way to just wrap up that chapter. And let's see, I didn't have any terms or anything from this and any other quotes that I thought may have been... So within this chapter on page 210, you got... I'm going to say it anyway in the quote, so I'll leave it up to that. A mountain pushes it aside and runs at me. Pax. In case I'm an idiot, he roars his name at me. His parents bred him to lead obsidian landing parties into hull breaches. Pax Telemanus is a pricklicker. I was dying laughing when I read that. I imagine in the moment I would say the same stupid shit.
Your Severo second.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not Severo, but it sounds like him. Pricklicker.
No. Hell yeah. I remember reading that and I'm like, that's perfect. And I had to include it here because who doesn't love saying the word pricklicker?
I also just like the aside of, in case I'm an idiot, this fucking crazy guy just keeps yelling his own name like a lunatic.
For chapters.
I
like
think that's funny.
The only thing you know of him is him yelling his name. He never says anything else until later on.
There's a pretty big discussion on the Red Rising Reddit, which I have dabbled into, about, you see this pop up often where it's like, why is Pax such a big deal for everybody? He's in it for, maybe 25 pages total, and 50% of the time he's in it, he's screaming his own name. And I don't know if I disagree with that, but I do, I definitely push back on it because him screaming his own name is super fucking endearing. He definitely is one of the funnier characters in the books, simply by his nature. And I think I don't know. I love Pax. Pax is fucking hilarious to me.
I feel like he's down to earth and he's just like a true, nice, like gentle giant almost.
He's a himbo, you know?
A himbo?
It's like the male version of a bimbo. Just this big brawny dummy, literally screaming his own name.
But he always means well, and another quote I think Darrow said, it's about Pax, like he doesn't want a nickname. Like his name is enough. He doesn't want any cool terms.
The way I think of it is he'd probably be, in today's world, he'd be on the spectrum somewhere, or maybe he'd be like Sling Blade, but just like jacked.
Yeah.
Kind of like the town simpleton, but with a heart of gold, and or maybe I don't know. He's an interesting character. There are a lot of faces to Pax that we never actually get to see.
Unfortunately.
Or maybe we do.
So another quote that I had, which I thought, because we're talking about SA earlier and how wrong it is, there's somebody who got kind of overlooked, and that was Antonia, between an interaction in this chapter with Mustang. Mustang starts off, the proctors have been watching all of this. They've seen what happened in that place. Everything was done by Titus. And no one else? The girls won't stop crying. No one died. Weak as they are, they will repair themselves. Despite what happened, there's been no depletion of golden stock. The golden stock? How can you be so cold? Little girl, gold is a cold metal. that gets overlooked. Like, she is just psycho. She's crazy. But she's like almost justifying it in a way like, well, you know, they'll live. They'll be fine.
She's crazy to our understanding of the world, but there are definitely, I mean, in the books, there's certainly, I mean, Victra is not, and obviously I'm not saying Victra would be okay with that. We know that her character is much more layered than that, but you can see the Julii vein is strong of you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Nobody makes you feel anyway except for yourself, and you know you're the one that kind of is in control of everything at all times. I think that there's some clear echoes of where the Julii daughters were raised. Clearly, their mother had some serious problems.
To say the least. Them. That's a good point.
Maybe not the kindest, warmest household.
No. But it fits for several. So,
yeah, I guess.
That's how chapter 27 ends. On to chapter 28, My Brother. I'm going to forego a quote for this, and we're going to dive right into it. Theme 1, Victory Feast, sort of. How the fuck do we reunite the house now? Theme 2, Punishment. Something has to happen. And theme 3, Revelations. So, now, if I could find my 28 recap. I don't know why it keeps moving around. So, My Brother. It's a very short chapter, but revealing nonetheless. Mars has their castle returned to them. The Minervans have left in shame. Titus has been hogtied and imprisoned in the basement of the keep. A victory feast is in order to celebrate the charade that Darrow played for not having the ability to make fire. He lies and says that he stole matches from the Minervans when they occupied the house, and they light a grand fire. And the help with their newly acquired cook, June, they begin cooking. All the while, those of Darrow's tribe pretend that they've never had a meal in weeks. This particularly was something I thought that was going to blow back up on Darrow in the future, was this whole aspect of, hey, you guys hid the fact that you had food. I imagine now he's the leader, he's running the house, like what could possibly divide and break things up from within? And that was the first thing I thought would blow up in his face, was the withholding of fire.
I agree, because that would be a tough thing to fake, to get everybody to be on the same page and do it well. That would be difficult.
Although they are all together again under the same roof, the house is completely fractured. Those who followed under Titus and his depravity are looked down upon, and as they should be, rightfully. How could one work with those people, knowing what they have done or witnessed and did nothing to stop it? Do we pretend like Titus was the only one to blame? Yes, he's the gang leader, but one does not lead unless there are others to follow. Others within Mars feel similarly, and over the course of the evening, fights and altercations break out between the tribes. This is Darrow's next lesson, how to reunite the house. This is where things start to become a little complicated. We all know Titus has to be punished. Roke reminds Darrow that it must be he who decides the punishment. He is the leader. Although Cassius claimed Titus, Darrow's the one that has to make the decision. It could potentially make Darrow's rule lesser if he passed off the punishment to Cassius or just decided the wrong outcome. Like, he has to do this correctly. What stood out to me in this chapter was Darrow trying to figure out how to help Cassius in this aspect. He cares for him deeply. And yes, it's part of, I killed your baby brother, Julian. But to me, it's more of how Cassius was treated. How he was pissed on, humiliated. He's made fun of. How close they have become together since then. Darrow truly cares for Cassius's future outside of the game. He wants him to succeed. He wants his future to be known as the boy who wasn't the boy who was pissed on.
Well, he also needs him to succeed.
Yeah, that
He
too.
needs him to be the golden son who, controls a fleet, because he's going to rely on his success to be a building block of his own to get to the point where he can topple the whole thing. I think the other thing too, one of the or two things that jumped out at me from this is, first off, I think he loves Cassius or feels strongly about Cassius because Cassius was the first gold that he felt like was a human being.
Yeah. They had like a normal reaction or discussion with.
Well, that, but also when repeatedly he mentions Cassius cried last night again. He pretended like nothing happened, but I heard him crying all night last night. He says it like 2 or 3 times. He refers to seeing Cassius's grief over his dead brother. And I think that humanizes Cassius in a way that the other golds, he just hasn't experienced them being human. He doesn't know how to connect to them. But Cassius, he can connect to because he had a human response to a tragedy. And that maybe builds that bond a little bit better or a little bit quicker than he's able to do with some of the others. The other thing that jumped out at me is, we're all nerds here. And it's the Eddard Stark of it all. He who passes the sentence should swing the sword.
Yeah.
This is not a rogue, unique realization or something that is particularly revelatory, but it is true. In these early societies like this, you are the one, you have power over life and death, and being the one to actually sentence someone and then perform the sentence is a reminder to everyone that follows you that you are the one who holds their life and their death in your hands.
Yes. I don't need to outsource anything. I will do it myself.
Yeah, it's not until much later in societies that they get a headsman or executioner or anything like that. For quite a while, like the person, the chieftain, whoever it was, they're the ones who are performing the act because that is a way to keep everybody in line and to remind everybody of your power.
I'm glad you brought up some good points, because I was going to ask, like, did you see it the same way? But no, I like that. So Darrow heads to the cellar to confront Titus. Finally, he is beaten, bloody, and tied, laying in his own filth. Yet, not knowing why, Darrow is afraid of him. We learn Titus didn't care for the game or its students at all. His only drive was to hurt or kill. The same henchmen, the dueling ring champions Darrow was afraid of to confront, Pollux and Vixus, were themselves frightened of Darrow. According to Titus, he was the only one that wasn't afraid of Darrow. And if Darrow wasn't around to kill them, they were surely scared shitless of Severo, thinking he was going to sneak in at the night and kill him. When pressured further on why kill and rape fellow students, Darrow uncovers Titus's secret. Titus is, in fact, a Red. And after reading through the book so many times, I managed to find other little tells in this chapter besides him just blurting out the word bloody damn. Titus jabs that Darrow outsourced his dirty work to the Minervans, calling him a typical golden coward. He calls Darrow a boy with a sling blade. He calls other golds gold brows, which is something only lesser colors call golds. And he referred to his army as cannibals, because only those who eat their own would be a cannibal. And then, of course, the word he blurts out at the end, bloody damn. Now, there are no specific quotes that I pulled from this chapter or spoke to me specifically, but just for the sake of discussion, when I first read this book, Colin, I believed that Titus somehow, some way, figured out that Darrow was also a red. When Titus says, "Thought you were like me, only worse because that coldness in your eyes." But you're not cold. You care about these piss pricks. First time I read it, I took it quite literal. Like, you were like me. You are like me. And because Darrow became friends with the Golds throughout the beginning of this institute, that's when Titus decided to fight back against him. But after reading it again and again and again and seeing his response to Darrow's reaction, I killed the bloody damn monsters. It's like I've been punched in the face. Oh, hell. A chill spreads through me. Bloody damn. I stumble back. What the hell is the matter with you? Titus asked. So, whether your first time reading it or later on, did you think Titus had any clue that Darrow was a red or
Or
not?
Yeah. I did. It read that way to me. Not the first time, but the last like 2 or 3 times reading that chapter, I was kind of like, does he fucking know?
Yeah. And I had the reverse. That's interesting because I thought at first, the first time I read the book, I'm like, he knows he's a red. Holy shit. Now he has to die. There's nothing about it. But then it's like, why would he react that way when Darrow's like freaking out, realizing it? And he's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, if he knew he was a red, he wouldn't be like, well, what is wrong with you? Like, in that moment.
And I have flip-flopped it, and definitely the last few times was like, is he guessing it or somehow figuring it out? And I don't think so, but I definitely was wondering. But I don't think he does. I think it's pretty clear. To your point, that response of, what's wrong with you is very much like him not having any clue. But it's layered in there in a way that makes you kind of question it.
Yeah. So that's the end of chapter 28, my brother. And at the end of this, so we have an answering the tight beam question. We have a question that came through from a listener, and he had 2-part question to this. First one is, we had a question asking how would we best introduce or overview the book Red Rising when recommending it to someone new? And
that's a good question.
Yeah, we'll break that one part down. So how you've recommended it to a handful of people now, and like, how do you best describe it and make it make sense?
I think the tactic I'm taking now is I just talk about how it's affected me and you in our relationship. I don't actually try and describe the book itself anymore because it's hard to say it in a way that doesn't get an instant, okay, I'm cool with that, or no, I hate that idea. That sounds terrible. If you say it's like Hunger Games in space with Hogwarts and real violent stuff, I don't know, you're instantly relying on that person liking one of those things or not liking that. It's a quick yes or no. What I've been doing more is like, honestly, these books I picked up thinking they'd be kind of a fluff read, but they've changed my reading life. And they've positively, materially impacted my oldest relationship and outside of my family, and my best friend and I are now closer because of these books than we've ever been before. And that to me is like, now the person either has to trust me in my, what I'm saying about the books or not. It's less about like, do they like, Hunger Games or science fiction?
And I have to admit, on my side, I have used that reference to some people. I've recommended it to a handful. I've given a few books out. I've dropped some books off in some random little libraries here and there. But I've usually explained it as basically sci-fi with a little bit of this Hunger Games thrown into it. And there's basically some slaves. They found out there were slaves and didn't realize it. And then they're trying to uproot and and destroy everything. And it's worked out so far. The few people that I know picked it up and ran with it, but it is kind of a little difficult to, how do you describe this, to pull somebody not into sci-fi, because we weren't always into sci-fi either.
And my thing about it is it's bigger than sci-fi.
Yeah.
You know, science fiction is like an element of the books, but once you get past the Iron Rain and the Star Shell and the Archimedes like spaceship and dreadnoughts and things like that, which admittedly are a good portion of the books, but like once you get past those elements, it's really just human stories. These are just very human stories.
Personal.
They're very layered, and they're very realistic human dramas that are playing out in a science fiction world. And so it's an element, but it's not, to me, they're not just science fiction. I'm trying to think of what would be like Star Wars and Star Trek to me are pure science fiction. Yes, there's drama and whatever, but it's very stylized, and you have a certain layer of veneer that goes on top of it. Whereas these books, like, there are parts where that conversation between Titus and Darrow, that doesn't have to be on Mars. That could be a conversation between two people in 8th century England. One of them is a captive and one isn't. Like, you could put that anywhere, and it's a very human interaction where you have revelation and fear and horror and pain and grief. That's what that is to me. So I try and steer away from classifying it immediately as science fiction, just so that it doesn't conjure lightsabers and warp speed.
That's a good point. So, and second part of his question, do you feel the need to put the first book in context with the rest of the series? So
I do.
Yeah.
I definitely do.
I've always spoken, like, it starts off, first book, a little slow. Once you get to this place called the Institute, it vastly ramps up, and then everything just soars after that. But that's how I've usually explained it, or kind of put the first book in context.
The only way to do it. But I also have been very much leaning on the, if you don't like the first book, then don't read the next 1,000 pages, because you probably already have made a judgment on it.
Unless you're my wife, then you have to read them.
And then you have to read them. No, I totally agree. It's a weird one, because I don't want to like downplay the quality of Red Rising. I'm a fan. Obviously, we're here fucking putting hours of our lives and talking about it. But I do feel like it does need a little bit of not a warning, but a heads up that let it seep in.
Let it simmer.
Let it simmer, and then once the thing comes to a boil, it doesn't stop.
No.
For the next 5 books, you are in a like breakneck speed towards a finish line that is repeatedly shocking. Every single one of these has an ending that you are literally like aghast or flabbergasted or speechless at. So, to me, that's worth it, even if book 1 is a little wonky. And like, the other thing I try and explain is that the first book is his first book. It's not just the first book in the series, it's his first book. So like, there's a little unevenness to it that gets ironed out pretty rapidly by the time you get into Golden Sun.
Yes, his ability to write, because he's not George R.R. Martin, it doesn't take 15 years in between books. Like, his ability to jot down and make
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Still waiting, Mr. Martin.
We're going to be alive for the end of the Red Rising saga. Thank God.
I'm going to pass down to my grandkids the fucking Song of Ice and Fire, and hopefully, whatever.
It won't be finished.
No, it won't. But All right. On that pivot. So anyone else that is listening as well, if you want to send us a tight beam or a question or something, we'd love to break it down and include it here and kind of get our take on it, or whether our opinions differ from yours. Send another message and be like, you guys should shut the fuck up. That's not what I meant. You know, it's all good. So
I'd also like to say here that Chuck is not a professional podcaster, but he is the one who is the branding mastermind behind the howl of appreciation, behind the tight beam messaging. I mean, the Severo second. These are all. I think you got to patent it. These are all, copyright these, because these are Chuck's little creations.
Yeah, I can come. All right, so I appreciate it. I can come up with a creation, and then I just completely suck at everything else. So it all works.
No, your videos. You've got a sidekick camera woman.
Yeah.
The reels you've been posting about your Hazard Bedlam has been impressive. I'm just pointing it out for the listeners that
It's been a lot of
your
fun.
creative inner Violet has come out here.
Oh yeah, well, I guess I never quite looked at myself as a violet, but
Maybe. I know you're a red, an obsidian, and a gray on Discord.
Yes, and I was just gonna say the Hazard Bedlam is I can be whatever color I choose, and those are the three. But I guess I should dip my toe a little bit in the violet area. And as far as Hazard Bedlam goes, I finally completed the cover piece, and then that day they reached the cap for submitting it. So
I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, all right. But I'm 2 pieces away from the story piece, which I should have probably just wrote it down and then teased it a little bit for anyone else who hasn't bought the pieces on what's written on that page between Darrow and Lorne.
I don't know what's on there. I didn't get the story page pieces.
So once I finish, I have 2 more pieces, and I hope to submit that in. So if anyone doesn't know, if you collect the full 24-piece image and submit it to Lit Escalates, they will actually, and you're the first within 200, they will send you a signed, I believe it's signed, foil of that image complete.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for that if I can get it on this story page, which would be
sick.
Really sweet. But
I'm thinking maybe our first dabbling into little scene work is that page. Maybe you're Darrow and I'll be Lorne.
Oh, hell yes.
We'll record it and put it on the Instagram. It'll be nerdy as hell, but
Yes.
let's do it. It'll be
All
fun.
right, deal. That's all right. We're saying it here for this podcast episode. Yep, it's gonna happen. I got 2 pieces, and I got the tokens are coming in like 2 days from now or something. So I should be able to finish the image pretty soon.
All right. Anything else for us?
Just off-planet discussions. Anything on the HC that I've been watching, and I don't know if you were dabbling into anything else besides Red Rising.
Oh my God, you did it again. Off-planet discussions. Oh my God, you're an animal.
Yeah.
What am I doing right now? I am working on I'm finishing Robert Graves' I, Claudius. I am starting a reread of the Iliad, and I just got this, and it's actually pretty, this is really cool. It's Joshua Rovner. It's the Adelphi series from IISS. It's called Strategy and Grand Strategy, but it's basically a series of case studies on the difference between the term strategy and grand strategy, because most people mix the two together or don't know what the difference is, including myself.
I have no idea.
And yeah, so I figured at some point in my life I talk about these things a lot. I should know what the differences are. And the first case study that he has is something I'm actually going to be referencing in my chapter recap.
Cool.
He talks about the strategy and grand strategy of the Peloponnesian War. And it was weird. I just started reading that and was like, holy shit. The recap I just did basically broke down and referenced some of the differences or situations in that particular situation. So I thought it was
Cool.
interesting. What about you? What are you reading, watching? Anything good? Probably video game playing.
No, I've actually taken a break from gaming. I've put down.
My God.
I know it's weird. Even my wife's looking at me like something's wrong with you. So something's off. All right. But I took a little break and I got into a documentary binge.
Ooh.
I started with a coworker told me about This Is the Zodiac Speaking. I
Yep,
watched
it's a
through
good one.
that, binged it, had some new interesting information on that aspect and pointing towards a specific person as the Zodiac,
Mhm.
which I've seen a lot of the documentaries on there and they're always all over the place. This was very well done. Then I watched the Tylenol murders, which I remember
Oh, yeah,
when
that
we
was
were
interesting.
kids, which just ended on a cliffhanger. Nobody has any fucking idea what happened
Yep.
there.
That
And
guy
then,
was fucking crazy, by the
yeah,
way.
that guy's a nut job. There's something going on. Yeah, well, I mean, he passed away now, but yeah, that guy's a little off. And after that, I end up watching the Titan submersible, Ocean Gate, trying to go down to the Titanic.
Julie made me watch 2 of those documentaries.
Yeah, and so this one just came out on Netflix, and I thought it was a little eye opening, and to say the least. Then I saw The Truth About Jussie Smollett, which I must
Oh,
give
how
them.
was that?
I liked it. It had cops. It had some of his coworkers. It also he sat down for an interview to go over stuff. So seemed very kind of balanced and fair, and tried to show both sides. So I have to commend him for that. So you might
Which
get
is
a
what a
kick out of it.
documentary should do.
Yes, because one time, like there's the Peterson case documentary I watched once. It was completely one sided, swinging,
Brutal.
and I couldn't sit through it. I want to see both sides, both arguments. That's the whole point of it. And yeah,
I'm looking up a documentary, so you keep going, because there's one that you got to watch that we watch that's fascinating.
all right. And then the last one that I ended up watching was the Oklahoma City bombing documentary. All of these happen to be on Netflix, but yeah, I got into a binge and just started going through these, and I can't stop. And now I'm on like my most dangerous X or some shit. Besides writing recaps for Red Rising, so and
and making videos for
which
you
have
know,
been a lot of
for-
fun. And I hope people enjoyed my daughter's little giggles in there. And
I did.
she's a firecracker. But I did learn in the Oklahoma City bombing, they happened to use a Ryder truck to
Yeah.
fill up with the explosive. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
I would be interested to see what the stock hit was.
Oh, yeah.
Like how bad the Ryder truck stock dipped
Yeah.
immediately following.
Because the reason I say it, it's like I'm a
I don't
diesel
know
mechanic
why
now.
that's interesting.
But yeah. But they had to have taken a hit. Because there was another incident I feel like somebody was telling me where a Ryder truck was used. It just kept coming back to these Ryder trucks. And it's when they were painted all yellow. And after all these incidents, they started changing the paint on all of their vehicles to like not be referenced to horrible things happening.
That's hilarious. You got to watch Mind Over Murder. Chronicles the bizarre and psychologically complex story of 6 individuals who were convicted for the 1985 murder of a beloved 68-year-old grandmother named Helen Wilson in Beatrice, Nebraska. It is a wild documentary.
What's it on?
HBO.
HBO. Oh, I haven't looked at any HBO's documentaries. I've been going through Hulu or Netflix, but I'll open up
Dive
HBO.
Mind Over Murder is wild. They do like the town has like a community play that they put on about it recently, like in the last 10 or 15 years, around like the 20th anniversary of the murder. And it's just this really interesting interplay between people that, you know, family members of the victim who think it was the people that were wrongfully convicted to this day. And they go to the play that basically talks about like wrongful convictions and stuff, including one of the cops that's like involved in the investigation. And it's all about how do they deal with it? And some of them are kind of coming around. It's wild. It's wicked good. Very
Hell yeah. I'll be diving into that because I finished these and then I was on to like my Dangerous X and then I was losing interest in documentaries. So yeah. So I'll dive into that. But this, what?
Stick to the documentary. Steer clear of the true crime TV shows.
Yeah. Somehow it just, you could throw it on the background, do six things at once. But
I know it's brutal.
this will conclude my master making of these two chapters, and the next couple of chapters for Cullen would be 29 Unity and 30 House Diana. So would you like to wrap up our episode?
Yeah. If you've got any artwork, music, anything that you make that is representative of Red Rising or has anything to do with the stories of the world, share it with us and we will make sure to get it up on to our social medias. We're on Instagram mainly. We have a Twitter. We don't really use it because it doesn't seem to have any, there's no
Traction.
reason other than to just put it out there. And we are now on YouTube, so check us out there. Sons of Aries Pod. Again, if you make anything, we want to platform it as much as we can. So we'd love to share it with whoever follows us. And if you have a question, comment, or anything you want to share, send it to us in a tight beam, and we will make sure that Chuck reads it.
Hell yeah.
And if you ever want to join the show, if you have a particular chapter that we're about to get to or that you want to talk about, flag us and let us know that you want to join us and break it down. It can be for 5 minutes. It can be for the whole hour. It doesn't matter. We want to encourage as many people to get on here and talk about the things that we love about these books, and hopefully, or dislike about the books. Totally could be anything.
Yeah.
We're open for all of it. So that is, again, Sons of Aries Pod, or hit us up on our email, which is Sons of Aries podcast at gmail.com. And that will do it. We'll see you then, and have a good night, Chuck.
Have a good one.